Let's see, roll call declaration of quorum, please.
Mr. Lau.
Present.
Mr. Griffin.
Present.
Mr. Tillman.
Here.
Dr. Matusek.
Here.
Mrs. Charmison. Here.
Public comments, are there any?
No.
Nobody signed up over there?
Nobody contacted me.
Okay, election, oh, that's today. Election and appointment of officers. Reorganization of the board. So,
Take nominations.
yeah, we're gonna take nominations. I guess we'll start with the president.
I'll nominate Luke Lau to be president second. Next term.
Who made the second?
Mr. Tillman.
Yeah, I spoke up.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Whoa, voting
Mr.
for
Griffin.
yourself. Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mrs. Charmison. Yes.
It's just my trained response when Timberly says, Mr. Lau, it's either present or aye.
No.
So. No. Nominations for vice president. I would nominate Mr. Patrick Griffin.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Griffin.
Abstain.
Oh,
Mr.
you're so
Tillman.
Yes.
proud.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mrs. Charmison. Yes.
Nominations for clerk.
I nominate Dr. Matusek. You didn't even let him finish getting the word out of his mouth, did you?
He did it for
Yeah,
somebody
I
nominated.
got a whole other paragraph here. I gotta read. I would second that.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Griffin.
Yeah.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
No.
Oops. And Mrs. Charmison. Yes.
I thought we were friends there, Ian.
You had to decide if you were a deciding vote or not.
All right, item number 4, consent agenda.
Oh, wait, we got to reposition ourselves. Okay, we're back to where we're at.
Musical chair. All right, item number 4, consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that any of my fellow board members would like to pull out and discuss individually?
I had none.
I do not.
Okay, make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as proposed, as outlined.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mrs. Charmison. Yes.
Okay, regular business, board, item 5.1, board to consider and take possible action in the absence of the president and or clerk to appoint, what's that for?
That's for the resolution. So.
Any and all documents pertaining to the setting the maturities date.
We're all here.
Yeah, there's no action. 5.2, board to consider and take action on a resolution determining the maturities of and setting meeting for May 15th, 2023 at 12 p.m. at the Eagle Event Center Conference Room at 605 East Oklahoma for the sale of $1.215 million building bonds of this school district and the designated bond counsel for the issuance of bonds.
And that's Smith, Stephen Smith and Associates, his son Jordan, and they sent us this. This is just for those biennial sales that we have every 2 years.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mrs. Charmison. Yes.
Item 6, new business.
No new business act on.
Item 7, superintendent's reports.
Facilities, just a reminder, kind of the timeline on the drainage ditch. There is a non-mandatory pre-bid meeting for any vendors interested in that. That is on the 18th at 2:30 in this room. The bid opening itself is on April 24th at 4:05 here. And then we will have that special meeting on April 26th at 6 p.m. to possibly award bids. So just kind of time frame of what's coming up on that. Summer projects, the main.
April 26th?
Yes, sir.
Do you know?
6 p.m. on the April 26th. Had a few conflicts on that. I know that could be that, but that was pretty tough for everybody at one time. Main summer project outside the drainage ditch, doing in-house, contracting with Keith Dobbs on that. But that's the update of the Family Consumer Science Career Tech room, the home ec room. Taking out that wall in between, a portion of that wall in between, opening it up, new cabinets, new appliances, ceiling, carpet. So budget on that's right at $100,000. So they have a nice up-to-date modern room in there, which is long overdue. And then just some projects that are still hanging out. I've not received a formal quote on the transportation building. Roughly that's 6,800 square feet of addition. If you just take a building and concrete slab and spray in foam, you could figure right at $30 a square foot. Only half of that building is getting concrete of what we have right now on the plans of what we talked to. The south half is just gravel. That's where the buses will pull in, except for the one wash bay. So just informal, but just kind of asking around. With that and the perimeter fence, you're looking at around, under 500,000 on that. The second thing that we discussed was the parking lot, baseball, the shared parking lot where the tennis courts are, baseball, and then extending around to the south side of football. Holson Engineering came in roughly and said if we had choose to do that whole project, right at $1 million, so you figure probably a little over 10%, easily over. So 1.1 there, 1.2. I did something that has come up. I have visited with the executor of the trust on this house right across the street in the parking lot. Actually just get all of the signatures, which he thought would happen within the next month, and he has no intentions of fixing that up. He would be interested in selling that to the school. So he's gonna get back with me once he has, I think he had that 8 signatures that he had.
And that is the only home left in this parking lot.
That is correct, yeah. So that's come up that we haven't discussed, on that. Looking at that house, you can probably figure, just get a rough idea. I don't know what they're looking at, but, we can all kind of throw our own numbers in our mind. And then another one that we talked about early that Caleb Laddick, Farmers Electric, has been working on for a long time, partnering with OG&E, is the LED conversion of the entire district of all of our current fluorescent lights and moving to existing. He's still waiting on the final numbers. He has his numbers, but then with what OG&E can give us on the rebate, roughly I think, you're looking at under 200,000. So if you kind of pencil all of those 4 projects that we've discussed at one time, or the house that's now come into play, I think you're still looking at probably $2 million on any of those, which we have 1.3 in building fund, which we could easily move to that transportation building, which I think we would, since that's standalone and wouldn't interfere with anything, my suggestion is we go ahead and start on that. We can get the architects involved, because in order to ever do the football, baseball parking lot, we're gonna need to displace Gary and get all of the equipment and some of the current buses out of that, because he wouldn't be able to drive back and forth. So with that, if you guys are comfortable, I can start getting with architect on the plans for the transportation, really getting that finalized and get hard numbers for you. Probably not at the next meeting, but by June. And then from there, we would, if we decide to move to that east project, parking lot, we would be able to start it till after football season anyway. That way we'd have no numbers up top, up north. And so I think we're in good shape to move forward with all projects. Gross production dropped a little bit last month, but it's come back strong again this month. Not anything where it was 3 months ago, but still much better than what we've had for a long time. So we're in good shape for these projects, both building and general fund, and then other things we're going to talk about a little bit later in the board meeting. So anything that I've left out on this that we've talked about before that we haven't talked about that we need to revisit?
The buses, I think that we haven't talked about in a while or heard anything about,
The 2 new buses are in?
are they in?
They are in, yes. Yeah, we got those about 3 weeks ago.
Right after spring break.
Yeah. Yeah, they came in, so we're good there. Gonna get 2 Suburbans ordered. Doesn't have quite as long as wait time as it did a while, but we need to get those in the fleet. So here shortly, we're supposed to, I was working with a gentleman at Jackson's, he's no longer there, so I'm gonna find out another direction to go and, get 2 Suburbans in here, because we're in need of those.
To replace or to add to the fleet?
One to definitely add to, and possibly turn one into like a maintenance, keep it, but I don't think you get much on the trade-in, but keep it around here because it's still good enough for local, just traveling around here.
Excellent. Excellent. Any questions? Mr. Sternberger?
No resignations received?
No resignations received.
Moving on, item 8, personnel, proposed executive session to discuss the employment of certified personnel for the 2023-2024 school year pursuant to 25 OS Section 307B1.
Move to enter.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mrs. Charmison. Yes. He did, I didn't.
Okay, we will enter back into our regular session and
There you go. I forgot, you have to read it.
I'll let you read it.
You told her to see the movie?
Okay, we entered into executive session at 12:11 PM on this fine day of April 10th. All members were present and our guest was Mr. Sternberger. We only discussed the items listed on the agenda in item 8.2 through 8.4 and no votes were taken. So, moving on.
What time did you say you came back?
Richardson's.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, what?
The
What
Richards-
time did you say you came back in?
12:44. 12:44.
All right.
This is Brian.
We will move on to
Jennifer's
item
and
8.2. I'll make a motion, 8.2.
This is kind of an important point.
You guys
of
come on
this
in here,
meeting.
you got
might
just in
wanna
time.
Join us.
8.2, Dr. Sternberger, are you recommending?
Yes, I would like to make a recommendation to the board to hire the following high school teacher, girls basketball coach, Mr. Brian Richardson, who just walked in, but we'll get a chance to visit with him here shortly. Also, for the middle school language arts teacher, his wife Jennifer. Middle school art teacher, Chris Pearsall. High school language arts teacher, Amy Lorenz. And elementary school teacher, Kelsey Barnett.
Kelsey
Ben.
I would make a motion to employ the following certified staff on a temporary contract for the 23-24 school year. As noted, Brian Richardson, Jennifer Richardson, Chris Pearsall, Amy Lorenz, and Kelsey Bennett.
I will second that motion.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mrs. Charmison. Yes.
Item 8.3, motion to approve, or discussion and possible board action regarding stipends for staff.
I would recommend to the board following our same pattern with a stipend of $1,500 for certified and some directors, and then half of that for support employees and on a prorated basis based on full-time or part-time employment. And that would be given at the end of April?
Probably next week.
Okay. That'll be given next week when we run regular payroll. We're gonna leave that up to Ginger because it just kind of depends in the system. So it'll be before the end of the month, one way or the other,
So Ginger gets to decide.
basically.
I'll make a motion to approve $1,500 stipend and for certified and professional staff, directors, and a $750 stipend for non-certified staff.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mrs. Charmison. Yes.
Item 8.4, discussion and possible board action regarding a $3,000 stipend for Timberly Yeck for completing the federal program's desktop audit.
I didn't know this was on the agenda until she posted it. She surprised me. No. So she picked up the work of
And
somebody.
she wrote 8,000.
Actually, I mean, complete surprise.
I
That's
thought we
what
were
I
talking
get
about
from
$300.
citizens for picking up the slack for somebody that was not able to finish out the contract. And so I think she's worth more than that, definitely, but that's what she brought to me, and I feel more than comfortable, and I'd recommend that to the board.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mrs. Charmison.
Yes.
Number 9, we will adjourn.
Second.
but we would like for the Richardson family to please stay, and we can visit with you briefly and in a casual manner. I've made a motion to adjourn, I'm sorry. He said.
It sounded like a motion.
Yeah, it
so I'll
sounded like a
second
motion.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Griffin.
that. Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mrs. Charmison.
Yes.